The wineglass trembled in my hand, its ruby contents catching the dim light of the chandelier as her words sliced through the air. "I'd rather go hungry," Claire said, her voice sharp enough to cut bone, her eyes refusing to meet mine. I stood frozen in our kitchen, the scent of rosemary and garlic from the half-prepared dinner clinging to the air like a promise already broken. The invitation to La Belle Vie, our favorite restaurant, was meant to stitch us back together, to mend the fraying threads of a marriage stretched thin by late nights and unspoken resentments. But her refusal wasn't just a rejection of dinner. It was a blade to the heart of whatever we had left. I forced a smile, the kind that hides a scream. "All right," I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. "I'll go alone then." Her lips twitched, a flicker of something, guilt maybe, or defiance, before she turned back to her phone, fingers dancing across the screen like they held secrets I wasn't meant to know. I grabbed my coat, the wool heavy with the weight of autumn's chill, and stepped into the night, the door clicking shut behind me like a verdict. The streets of our small town were quiet, the kind of quiet that amplifies the noise in your head. Streetlights cast long shadows, pooling like ink on the pavement, and I walked toward La Belle Vie with a hollow ache gnawing at my gut. Claire's distance had been growing for months. Missed calls, late nights at the office, a perfume I didn't recognize lingering on her scarf. I'd brushed it off, told myself it was stress, her new promotion, anything but the truth I didn't want to face. But tonight, her words had cracked something open, and doubt seeped in like cold water through a sinking ship. The restaurant glowed warmly, its windows fogged with the breath of intimate conversations. I took our usual table by the corner, where fairy lights draped like stars above the linen. The waiter, a young man with a crooked tie, poured me a glass of Pinot Noir, his smile sympathetic, as if he could sense the absence beside me. I stared at the empty chair where Claire should have been, her laugh filling the space, her hand brushing mine as we shared stories over candlelight. Instead, the chair mocked me, silent and cold. My phone buzzed, a text from Claire. "Sorry, just not feeling it tonight. Work's been rough." I stared at the words, each one a pebble in the growing pile of my unease. Work. Always work. I typed a reply. "Hope you're okay. Love you." But my thumb hovered over the send button. Something stopped me, a whisper of instinct, sharp and cold as a blade. Instead, I opened her social media, a habit I'd sworn off months ago. Her last post was from yesterday, a vague quote about freedom, no context, no tags. I scrolled, my pulse quickening, until I saw it. A photo from 2 weeks ago, Claire at a bar I didn't recognize, her smile radiant, her arm around a man whose face was just out of frame. My stomach twisted, the wine souring on my tongue. I paid the bill before the appetizers arrived, the waiter's concern trailing me as I left. The night air stung my face, but I barely felt it. My car was parked a block away, but I didn't head there. Instead, I walked toward Claire's office, her excuse echoing in my mind. The building loomed dark, its windows black as closed eyes. No lights, no late-night meetings. My breath caught, a mix of rage and dread clawing up my throat. I called her, the phone ringing once, twice, then straight to voicemail. Her voice, bright and professional, mocked me from the recording. I drove home, the radio off, the silence loud with questions. When I opened the door, the house was too still, the kind of stillness that feels like it's holding its breath. Claire's coat was gone, her keys missing from the hook. I checked the bedroom, the bathroom, the living room, empty. My heart pounded as I opened her laptop, left carelessly on the couch, the screen still warm. Her email was open, a message from someone named Jay glowing like a confession. "Meet me at the cabin tonight. Can't wait to see you." The address was in the foothills, an hour away. My hands shook as I grabbed my keys. The drive was a blur of headlights and twisting roads, the forest closing in like a jury. The cabin was tucked off a dirt path, its windows glowing faintly through the pines. I parked 100 yards away, my breath shallow, my pulse a drumbeat in my ears. As I crept closer, the murmur of voices slipped through the cracked window, Claire's soft and intimate, and another, deeper, unfamiliar. I peered through the glass, my chest tight. There she was, her hair loose, her hand resting on a man's knee as they sat by a fire. He was older, sharp-jawed, his eyes locked on her like she was the only thing in the world. The way she looked back, unguarded, alive, It was a look she hadn't given me in years. I wanted to scream, to shatter the window, to demand answers. But my feet were led, my voice trapped. I stood there, frozen, as the truth carved itself into me. This wasn't a fling, a mistake. This was love, or something close enough to break me. I stumbled back to the car, my vision blurring, the world tilting under my feet. I drove home, the cabin's glow fading in my rearview. Each mile a nail in the coffin of our marriage. Back in our kitchen, I sat at the table, the rosemary and garlic now cold. A cruel reminder of my failed gesture. My phone buzzed again, another text from Claire, home soon. Just needed some air. I laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. I could confront her, lay out the evidence, watch her scramble for lies. But what would it change? The betrayal was already a wound too deep to stitch. Instead, I poured another glass of wine, the liquid dark as blood. I typed a reply, "Take your time. I'm fine." But I wasn't. I sat there, staring at the empty chair across from me, imagining her with him, their laughter, their secrets. And then, with a clarity that burned, I made a choice. I opened my laptop, searched for divorce lawyers, and began to type an email. The words came slowly, each one a step toward a life without her. The betrayal was hers, but the freedom would be mine.